question, how do you manage traffic when a streetcar fails or there is an accident involving a streetcar? What if it's the height of rush hour? How do you get around it? How do you deal with these kinds of issues since all of a sudden you plop this in the middle of the street? And
why is everybody looking at Houston with that question? I'm sorry. We've had a little experience with that, but any operation that goes in the city or that deals with the street does. Effectively, the best direct answer is kind of like the way you handle when if a bus breaks down the middle of the street. As far as the impediment to traffic, from an operation standpoint, the operator is prepared with bus bridges to call out, to divert buses from other routes and manage the transit traffic around the issue. But otherwise, it's pretty much like any other traffic accident. Streetcar, particularly of this type we're talking about here, it's running single units, not light rail where it might be 300-foot units, 300 feet of train trundling down the city streets. It's effectively about an articulated bus, and you try to avoid the accidents, but it's never our fault.
It's also, as part of your system safety program plan, you have to have an emergency response and rescue plan for the system. A lot of the early systems that have been rebuilt in the United States, they built it and they didn't think about what would happen if a streetcar broke down. So the streetcar couldn't move, there was nothing that could tow it, and all the other services were stuck behind it. Early streetcars, the legacy systems like New Orleans, on their double track, they have crossovers. So if a car breaks down, they just leave it there and the cars use the other side of the track. I was the manager of the system in Tampa for 6 years, and the first thing we did is organise meetings with the police. So we prepared, be prepared. What's a streetcar? We actually had teams of police, we trained them. What's dangerous, what's not? How can we speed up this investigation process to get the system going, to get the intersection clear? And we got what was a 3-hour delay. It took 3 hours to clear an intersection to 10, 15 minutes.
let me shift over here to weather. As you probably know, Washington, well, we're moderate in temperatures. We can have more snow than Denver, and we can be hotter than Miami. Mm-hmm. So what does this mean in terms of our sort of technological choices here? And particularly if we look backwards, in terms of the old streetcar system, you know, someone seems to suggest the weather certainly played a role in that, although it did seem to, the weather isn't what killed it. It seemed to be something else killed it. And, you know, so what happens to us in terms of what we should look forward in the future, given the nature of Washington's weather, which tends to be, not all the time, but we get these extremes every 8 to 10 years that just kind of take us one direction or the other.
Well, the issue on air conditioning is you probably will need a beefier air conditioning system. When we built the commuter rail line in Austin, Texas, we basically doubled the capacity of the air conditioning system with working with the manufacturer, and that was straightforward, just adding another unit on the roof. The snow removal, that's going to be somewhat of an issue, but on the other hand, I'd sort of like to think that Edmonton runs streetcar or runs light rail. You look at some of the communities in Siberia and in Norway and Sweden that have operated streetcars over the years, and some of the interurban lines too. This is a problem that can be resolved. You know, it's just having the right equipment, knowing what to do, and picking up on what Tim said. It's part of your operating plan.
And Washington, like many cities, had what were called snow sweepers that were special streetcars that had a rotating broom at an angle at the front that would brush the snow off the track and put it out of the way. So that or rail plows is what you normally need.
Well, Jim mentioned air conditioning load, and we talked about this briefly about energy capacity of the storage device. If you are stuck in traffic and you are having to air condition the system, you've got to consider the energy storage device if you're wireless. Mm-hmm. Able to do that and then move the vehicle once it's cleared up. So got to consider that.
Yeah, a little bit closer to home than Siberia. Philadelphia has a very similar weather extremes, and using simple span wire overhead contact system. It deals with the extremes of the hot summers and the very cold, sometimes severe winters. Ice buildup is actually the bigger problem than snow. People know how to clear streets. You know, that's why we have plows and such, and that you plowed for the rest of the traffic. The streetcars can get through nowadays. So SEPTA got rid of all their brushes and such. And there's specific snow removal equipment for the streetcars. And but the ice buildup on the wire is something you deal with. And the way you deal with it is you run your train sometimes a little bit more often when there's an ice storm, and you break the ice. And there are devices that can go up on pantographs as well as poles that are basically will break the ice as they go by during extreme conditions.
It's one of the real advantages of overhead wire in that case, because the overhead wire, will bounce a little bit, so you run along with the pantograph, and the vibration just takes care of the ice. Little Rock has horrible ice storms. They'll get an inch
But
or so.
it does seem for us, again, given the issues of storage capacity and some kind of hybrid, the air conditioning requirements we may have is going to have a significant demand, and will correspondingly have limitations on distance. I guess if we were trading distance or power, particularly in the summertime, it could happen at the moderate temperatures. But at that point in time, when you get the peak demands and add to it congestion traffic in the evenings, those longer periods of time where you may be out of touch, this will have a significant impact on the kind of way in which we spec out what we can have here. So. Let me ask a question here about the interface between just regular traffic, particularly on traffic signals. Traffic signals for streetcars, traffic signals for cars. What's the way to make that work best, and is that an issue that is of some consequence to us?
Well, frankly, most of the time the streetcar just moves right along with traffic. I can think of a couple of systems where we don't have any specific any extra traffic signals or any modifications at all. They just go right with traffic.
So you don't give them priority. You basically
you can, but you don't have to.
You don't need to. And I guess again, let me just bring up the example of Houston. Our traffic engineers at Houston Metro work extremely closely, hand in glove with the city traffic engineers. In terms of the traffic control at the intersections we go through. For the most part, and with the extension of the system, for the most part, very rarely do we have any special arrangements. We never have preemption. We never get the type of priority, nor should we get the type of priority afforded ambulances and emergency response vehicles. But we will sometimes get priority at key intersections, and it's something that's dealt with not just for the benefits of the streetcars, but how can we holistically make the entire intersection work from a transportation standpoint for all traffic going through there. And sometimes what works best is to have a little bit of smarts in the box, so that if a streetcar is coming along and it's just about it would about hit the yellow phase, extend the green a little bit and make up for it in the next cycle. Or likewise, if we're sitting there waiting, give us we're talking 3 to 5 seconds, but give us a jump on traffic. Going back, unfortunately, to the issue of traffic accidents, which we've had a lot of, just go to YouTube, look up Houston Metro's greatest hits. You'll see it all. We had a lot of experience of trucks turning left in front of us at intersections. We resolved that by basically giving us our bar signal a 3-second lead on the rest of the traffic, and virtually have wiped out that as an incident in this last year that we've had in action. So by working with the traffic engineers, but it's not to anybody's advantage, it's to make the system of transportation work.